Mariah, and today I'm going to give you guys tips and advice on how I went from a low 2.2 to a 2.1 in my final year. But before I do that, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself. In my first year I got 2.1, second year the low 2.2, third year I went on a study abroad year and that was a pass-fail criteria and I passed, and in my final year I got a 2.1. If you like any of the tips I give you guys in this video, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel because it really helps my channel. But anyway, let's go. So in my first year, I came up with I didn't come up with it, but I like to call it the Kent approach. So I went to Kent in my first year, and what the Kent approach kind of entails is in my first year, I was very on it in terms of I would do all the reading on the reading list, and I would go straight from the lecture to the library. I was one of those ones. And I would just be so dedicated because, to be fair, for me, I was a medway. There wasn't really much to do, in my opinion. So I was just dedicated to my books, and that helped me get my 2.1. And also I was aiming to transfer, so that really helped me get my 2.1 too. And then I have another thing called my study abroad approach. So when I studied abroad, I've mentioned it in my study abroad video, things were very intense compared to how they are over here in the UK. We'd get constant homework, you'd get constant assignments, constant reading. You had to always be doing something, I kind of felt. And I felt like it was like a lot. It was definitely a shock to the system, but it definitely prepared me for my final year. So yeah, I like to use those two approaches. So as I said, constantly doing something on the study abroad year. So when I came back, I'd make sure I was constantly doing something. If I wasn't reading an article for my dissertation, I was doing this or I was doing that. But also allow yourself to have a break, because there were points where my own tutor would be like to me, Mariah, do not go home and do any work. Relax. And then obviously, being me, I found a loophole and I was like, well, he said don't go home and work if I work on the train. That's not, Anyway, so like I said, I'd work on the train. I would talk to my tutor about like what was going on in terms of how I was finding the work, how I was performing in other modules, and so on and so forth, or just general life chatter. Because I feel like when you have that like rapport with them, or you just have a conversation with them in general, if anything happens and your grades drop compared to how they usually would, or how they usually perform, they would be able to vouch for you and be like, oh no, yeah, she said she was going through this, so it's kind of understandable why this would happen, and maybe you could reappeal. You know what I mean? I think definitely open communication. Another thing I'd say is you're gonna have to make some sacrifices when it comes to trying to improve your grade. You can't be doing the same stuff you did in the same year that got you the low 2.2, So like for me, that meant minimizing the amount of time I would see people. So the only people because I was commuting as well, I saw people less as well. But I would see my friend either in the library for like study dates, or I would see my boyfriend in the library for study dates, or after uni. It would literally just be like a lot of, hey, let's have a study date. Or it's like, oh, I'm actually going somewhere, so I'd walk right past you. But yeah, my point is study. It's a lot. But when it comes to studying, start things early, read early, use GradeHub. GradeHub is great. It's a website. You just make an account and you can put in the weighing of your modules. You can put all your assignments in there and it will help you calculate your progress currently and tell you what you need to get you to whatever grade you are aiming for. I think it typically only really shows 2.1s and first. So if that's what you're aiming for, obviously, because you're watching this video, is what you're aiming for, use that. I will link that below in the description. That will help you there. In that sense, so I'm just double checking that I'm saying everything that I want to say. But yeah, no, using all the resources, that's the one thing. So obviously your library has all these resources you can use. Your university will probably have those drop-in sessions that you can go to. I know I didn't go to any of them because they're a bit daunting, the sound of like someone else reading your thing if they're not specialized in your subject. But I think, use what's available to you. Don't just, struggle by yourself. Like I said, tell your tutor that you're actually aiming to get a 2.1. Maybe they could, be on your side and be like, oh, I noticed you did that, do this because it will get you there. Another big thing that I believe helped me is the whole policy of outside, out of mind. Basically, when my assignment grade schemes would come out, I would cover everything below a 2.1 and then be like, okay, well, if I can't see everything below a 2.1, I shouldn't be achieving anything below a 2.1. And I mean, it worked. I didn't achieve anything below a 2.1 in my final year, but that's probably a thing that you could do and that could help you. And like I said, all of these things helped me, but they won't necessarily work for everyone. So make, you know, your little adaptation and like change things to how they fit you better. But it's all about finding the right balance, allowing yourself a break, and starting things early so you don't stress later, at identifying your weaknesses and owning them. You know, that's kind of how I got my low 2-2 up to 2-1 in time for graduation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I didn't ramble on too much. I'm sorry.